going to continue. These kind of people, as I have said, have already reached the 4th level. They have not passed by the 3rd level. Why? Because in order to be healed of our sinfulness, we need to be humble. These people have reached rock bottom in their lives. And so I asked them, how do you pray? And they told me that prayer is not a matter of time. We talk to God all the time because we know that without God, we will not be able to continue our work. They have become truly humble. And so I asked them, what is your idea about money and all about these things of the world that makes us secure? They said, no, we don't anymore do that because if you can see ourselves, we only have a small pack in our backs. And I said, why? Because, sister, if you have discovered your true self, you are not afraid wherever you will go because you are close to your Creator. And it really made me think, how come these people have reached a very high degree of prayer? You know why? Because they are humble. Because they are humble. And they have been already at the very, very, very deeply in their sinfulness. And God took them there. And it makes them humble. That is why they did not pass the 3rd level. Now, I will talk about the 3rd level of people. And it's very interesting. Because many of us Filipinos are here. The 3rd level people are very, very good people. Now, I have here the characteristics in order that I will not forget. Saint Teresa was the one who said this. She said, the 3rd level people are very prim and proper. They are externally perfect. They are pleasing to God, but they are also pleased and contented with themselves. They have already overcome many sinful temptations, and they long not to offend God. They guard against venial sin. They are very fond of doing external penance, like fasting, abstinence, and long hours of prayer. They use their time well. They are very prudent in their speech. They are very modest in their dressing. Many of them are daily mass goers, and they also receive Holy Communion. They are very zealous in helping other people, especially the poor. So many of them are members of many civic organizations to help the poor. Now, Saint Teresa said that if we reach this level, it means we are now called to higher levels. However, she said, it is sad that while many of us reach this stage in our spiritual life, quite few can go beyond it. We get stuck up in our spiritual life in the human and natural level. So there is no radical transformation in our lives. We continue to commit the same faults, we continue to commit the same sin, and we have very little self-knowledge. Why? Saint John of the Cross gives the answer. He said, although these people are very good externally, they don't know that they are very proud interiorly. They are proud because they think they have reached already a high degree of prayer. They think that they are good. Of course, because they are always praying. They are always going to communion. They are perfect in their actions. Now, Saint Teresa said that if we reach this level, the 7 capital sins will have also spiritual in its dimension. So she's talking about spiritual avarice. What is spiritual avarice? They never have enough of hearing sermons, attending seminars, praying novenas, joining prayer groups, attending spiritual meetings, joining many religious organizations. They are collecting statues and rosaries and other articles. What is wrong here? There's nothing wrong. But what is wrong is that these people are proud because they are good, and they are not even aware that they are proud. And humility, Saint Teresa is saying, is the foundation of the spiritual life. Unless we are humble, we cannot go closer to God. Now she talks about spiritual avarice. She talks about spiritual lust, temptations on sexual feelings and images, even when one are undertaking the most spiritual activities, like Holy Communion and prayer. But St. John of the Cross said, suppose if you're about to go to communion or you're at prayer and many evil thoughts come to your mind, John of the Cross said, just ignore it, just go to communion, as long as you do not entertain them. Now, Teresa also talked about many of these can be slowly healed in what we call today meditation or silent prayer or contemplative prayer. Many of these, if you practice contemplative prayer daily, you will be healed, because this kind of prayer go deeper into your unconscious. Now, all that God is asking of us is the humility to accept and to pray for the grace to correct our faults and try our very best to overcome them. He will gradually heal us from our woundedness. The problem is, we usually do not accept that we have them. Why? Because our prayer is only in the conscious level. We do not go very deep into the unconscious, where our hang-ups and our pride and our sinfulness is there, beyond the conscious level. That's why it's so important to go into what we call contemplative prayer or silent prayer. We remain childish in our ways. We do not grow up. We are emotionally immature, and so we do not become contemplatives, or we do not reach the stage of spiritual maturity. Now, contemplation is the integration. Let me give you an example. Suppose if I pray every day long prayers, and even if I fast and do all of these things, and maybe I'm very intelligent, I'm the president of a university, I have plenty of degrees, but if habitually I ask something and I really want it immediately, I cannot become spiritually mature. Why? Because emotionally, I am only a toddler. I am what I feel freely. That is the toddler. Why? Because real prayer is the integration of the different levels of maturity. The different levels. For example, emotional, psychological, intellectual. Now, even if I pray very much and I do penance, if I want to do whatever I like, no matter how spiritual it is, that means I am emotionally mature. That is why all of us have to pass through what St. John of the Cross said, the dark night. Because there are 4 things in the human person that needs to be purified through sufferings. And this is what John of the Cross is talking about in the dark night. What is it? The first need of the human person is to control. I really want what I like. No matter how spiritual it is, you are an immature child. You are only a toddler. Because a toddler will always want what he likes. Because you see, The emotional maturity of a toddler is something like this. I am what I feel freely. For example, if you are a married man, and then you begin to be very interested with a beautiful woman, secretary, or whatever it is. Now, if you are really mature, you are not going to expose to that experience. You are going to get away from that. But if you are emotionally immature, if you are a toddler, then you will do it, because what is the identity of a 3-year-old child? I am what I feel freely. So therefore, no matter how much you pray, no matter how much you are trying to be good, you cannot become spiritually mature, because emotionally you are immature. That's the reason. There is an integration in our spiritual life. Meaning to say, we are mature spiritually if psychologically we are mature, emotionally we are mature, intellectually we are mature. There is really a combination of all that in our life. Now, that's why we need to pass through what St. John of the Cross is saying, the dark night, or what is it? It is the crisis in our life that we cannot get whatever we want. We cannot get. God will not allow it. Why? Because our tendency is the need to control. I get what I want. Until you are free from that, you cannot go beyond. That is one, the need to control. The need to do whatever I like, no matter how spiritual it is. Because that is pride. Now, the next need is the need for intimacy. The need for intimacy is we need to be intimate with friends or our husbands and our wives. But you know, when you are in love, you want to control the response of the person whom you love. And that also is a hindrance to our life of prayer. We are not free interiorly. That's why St. John of the Cross, in the next stage, I'm going to talk, how are we going to become free? He said, it does not matter if a bird is tied with a rope or with a tiny thread, it cannot fly to freedom. That means we need to be interiorly free. We need to go through the dark night, because in the dark night, in our sufferings, we are before a blank wall. You cannot go forward, you cannot go backward. You allow God to act in your life. That is how you become free. Because our lives belongs to God. He is the one who rules our life. But you know, human nature, we like our lives to control. The need to control, the need for intimacy, and the need to discover one's identity. Whatever you are attached, it can be a person, it can be liquor, it can be money, it can be anything. That's your identity. Now God wants to strip you of all of this in order to reach the 4th level. That's the reason why we need to go into contemplative prayer. Because without this, we will never be able to know ourselves. We will take this break, and when we come back, we will talk about the different characteristics of the 3rd level persons.